Welcome to This Week in Berkeley Heights, brought to you in part by thealternativepress.com, Berkeley Heights' daily online newspaper, owned and operated by local residents. I'm Michael Shapiro, owner and publisher of thealternativepress.com and president of the Rotary Club of Berkeley Heights. Each week, This Week in Berkeley Heights will bring you a roundup of the latest news in Berkeley Heights and a look ahead at events around town. Later on in this broadcast, in our community segment, we will speak with Christy Hottie from the American Red Cross and Dr. Patrick Smith, and in our big business segment, Augie Santoro from Bake You Crazy in Berkeley Heights. The Township Council surprised a packed meeting room on Tuesday, December 4th after voting down an ordinance that would have allowed Berkeley Aquatics to connect to the township's sewage plant. The council questioned and has requested a legal opinion on whether a public referendum, which was thought to be the next step, is proper. Berkeley Heights Aquatics wants to build a 51,000 square foot aquatic facility that would be located just over the border in Warren in a residential area. It's currently located in Berkeley Heights. The council previously evaluated and denied the proposal. Last month, Berkeley Aquatics introduced an ordinance by petition allowing the measure. The petition was signed by 535 residents. It was originally thought that if the council voted to deny it, a public referendum would be required within 90 days, but that may not be the case. Councilman Robert Woodruff was the first to question the referendum, and he put forth a resolution asking Township Attorney Joseph Sordillo to look into whether it would be appropriate to halt the referendum because the subject matter, contracts, should be the responsibility of the elected council members and not a public referendum. All members of the council, except Councilman Ed D'Elia, agreed. An answer is expected by the next meeting on Tuesday, December 18th, possibly before, if Woodruff is correct, if a referendum is necessary, it must be held within 90 days. Mayor Joe Bruno said, quote, "My chief responsibility is to the residents. During the storm, my number one priority was to protect the sewer plant, because if the sewer plant was offline, when you went to flush your toilet, it would have backed up into your bathroom. It is our number one revenue producer. It is an ecosystem that is delicately balanced. The water has to be clean. It is our sewer plant. We pay the taxes for it. It has to stand in perpetuity." The vote was 5 against the petition to 1 for it. After the council meeting, Councilman D'Elia explained why he chose to vote as he did. Quote, "We have the capacity. Something else will be built there. 500 to 700 condominiums could be the same amount of capacity. I'd like to double the fee for commercial use. It would have saved us money if we had approved it." On Friday morning, December 7th, the Suburban Chamber of Commerce held a networking breakfast at which Assemblyman John Bramnick spoke about Hurricane Sandy and the relief efforts. Bramnick said he had concerns about JCP&L. He said they did a terrible job, lack communication, and they need to create strategies so people can be reached faster. Quote, "I thought they deserved an F," he said. On the other hand, he said PSE&G was impressive because they were honest with their customers. Dr. Patrick Smith said he likes listening to Bramnick, and with his 2 family members who lost homes due to the storm, his words meant a lot. He also echoed Bramnick's sentiment about the lack of communication. Quote, "I think we really saw with the superstorm that there was a lack of adequate communication," Smith said. Governor Livingston's ice hockey team breathed a little sigh of relief on Friday night at Union Sports Arena when the horn sounded in a matchup against West Orange that ended in a 5-3 victory for the Highlanders. The Highlanders raised their record to 2-1 with their second straight win, while West Orange dropped to 0-2. Just in time for the holidays, the Berkeley Heights Beautification Committee is jump-starting their first phase in improving the appearance of downtown Berkeley Heights. They're purchasing 18 holiday banners to put up along Springfield Avenue for the holiday season. Each banner with bracket costs $160, totaling $2,880. Please support their efforts by making a donation to help cover the cost of this improvement. Checks should be written to the Township of Berkeley Heights with banner in the memo of the check. Checks can be mailed to Gene Kingsley, 9 Deer Path Lane in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey, 07922, or to Anna Minkoff at the Town Hall. We'll be right back after this short commercial break to speak to Christy Hottie and Dr. Patrick Smith.
That's low and blue.
Look, he's blushing.
Seriously? Okay.
Welcome back to This Week in Berkeley Heights. Joining us here in the studio are Christy Hottie from the American Red Cross and Dr. Patrick Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
Thanks for being on it. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the American Red Cross and the changes that have taken place recently there, and then we can talk a little bit about Hurricane Sandy and all of the efforts of the American Red Cross during that rather harrowing time here.
Harrowing it was. Well, the reorganization took place a couple of months actually before Hurricane Sandy, so it was a true test once we went full-fledged into that response. And the reorganization has affected our local chapter. We're now covering a much larger area, all of Union County, all of Morris County, all of Warren County, and Milburn Short Hills. And we have a new name, New Jersey Crossroads.
That's great. And in terms of your location, are you still located in Summit, or?
We are. That's the headquarters, but I still maintain chapter locations in Westfield and in Milburn and out in Warren County in Belvedere.
And I think, within a few months of the reorganization, Hurricane Sandy hit. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the American Red Cross's response both here and throughout the area.
Well, as I said, it really was a test because we had moved into a regionalization of all our resources, our volunteers, our staff, and never anticipated that anything that large would come up so quickly with this new format. And so very much is similar in retrospect. I mean, volunteers are still 97% of our workforce, and they're all trained much prior to any large-scale disaster. So when they're deployed, even though it's on a larger scale, a regional scale, and in this case across the entire state, they're still using those skills they've learned at their local chapter and learned in local responses, local fires, power outages, that we've managed all the years that we've been a Red Cross chapter. So it was just a huge scale up of something that we've done, and I think all in all it made us much more efficient, much more flexible, and much easier to respond in something so large.
And can you talk a little bit about the kinds of things the Red Cross did during the hurricane and thereafter? Because I think people were seeing all kinds of good things happening, but a lot of it had to do with the Red Cross. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, that's good. It's good. Thank you for that. The most important thing that the Red Cross does is meet the immediate needs. And those immediate needs in the time of a huge disaster are finding a safe place to be, so sheltering, whether it be sheltering in place in their home or sheltering in a larger facility outside the affected area, and feeding people. And then in addition to this, we always have health services available and mental health counseling available. You can imagine that the mental health services were widely used throughout these regions and states that were affected because there were devastating results of this huge storm. People lost houses, people lost family members, they lost possessions. So we meet those immediate needs, and then we go into, once the storm's passed, we go into mobile feeding. Mm-hmm. So when you saw pictures of those mobile feeding trucks throughout the affected areas, those were driven by volunteers, and hot meals and cleanup kits were available, blankets were available, supplies that the communities needed were distributed by Red Crossers.
And I think Dr. Smith can talk a little bit more firsthand
about
the Red Cross.
Yes. Christy was, when we gave a donation through the Berkeley Heights 5K, which we do every year, and Christy and I have really known each other on a first-name basis since 9/11, and I saw the great work that they were doing. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I had two family members lose homes in the storm, and one being my mother, who I have a great deal of love for and help take care of her. And so as we finally got back to her house in Lavalette, and we're cleaning out all her worldly possessions and throwing them on the street like all the other neighbors, we heard this voice over a megaphone coming down Desolation Boulevard, literally. And as it got closer, I went out on the street with a load of, moldy clothes and possessions and furniture, And here comes the red and white disaster relief truck with a gentleman on the microphone, hot meals, water, sanitizer, gloves, and it was really nice. So they stopped in front, and we had been about 4 hours into the clean out of her house at that point, and my mother had it. She was bewildered. She looked like, as we say from the country, she looked like a deer in the headlights. You know, she couldn't function. So I sat her down in my vehicle. The folks operating the Red Cross disaster van were from Texas, and they had been up. They were going to spend Thanksgiving here helping people, and it really made a huge difference. All people came from our block. They congregated in front of the Red Cross truck, got some meals, had a nice cry, you know, hugged one another, and it was really a bit of humanity in a very inhumane situation. So I've seen, you know, it was nice. And so my mother sat down, and after she was done crying and had her beef stew, she said, you know, we run the Berkeley Heights 5K every year, and one of our recipients is the Red Cross. It was really nice to see it come back. They really do help regular people like us. Mm-hmm. So it was very heartwarming.
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, Christy, can you talk a little bit about how people can get involved with the Red Cross, how they can make donations, things like that?
Well, I think people can be involved in a variety of ways. They certainly can take the path that Dr. Smith has done, which is participating in an event which contributes financial donations to the Red Cross, and those are always needed in our time of disaster response, and prior and after, because the training is paramount to be able to respond so quickly. But we also, as I mentioned, are largely run by volunteers. So time's a wonderful resource and a wonderful gift to the American Red Cross. People can donate blood. It's in very short supply, particularly in our state, and after some large-scale disasters, it even makes it worse because so many blood drives were canceled. Mm-hmm. So you've got time, you've got money, you've got blood. Those are three wonderful commodities that any part of that would be very beneficial to the work that we do.
And if somebody wishes to donate any of those, how do they best get in touch with you? Like if you can maybe give out your website or a phone number, that kind of thing?
1-800-RED-CROSS or www.redcross.org are the best places.
That's great. Anything else that you'd like to add?
I would just like to say thank you to so many people who have given those one of those three, or in some cases all three. Just acknowledging the work that the Red Cross does by local donors and local spontaneous volunteers. We had wonderful people who stopped in and gave small amounts of time or donations to our work. Really means so much. It just really creates that sense that we belong to the community, and the community recognizes that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your service to the community. Thanks for being on the show tonight.
Thank you,
Dr. Smith.
Thanks, Mike.
How's your mom doing? Is she okay?
She's doing good, and you know, with the help of the Red Cross, she's doing a lot better.
Great. It's good to hear.
Thanks, Mike.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. Welcome back to This Week in Berkeley Heights. With me in the studio is Augie Santoro, owner of Bake You Crazy here in Berkeley Heights. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about Bake You Crazy and how you came up with the concept with your wife?
Sure. My wife is actually a mathematical engineer and physics and all that stuff, and she moved over here in 2008, and I asked her, what would you like to do? So she thought about tutoring a little bit, and she always loved to bake. And with that math and science background, with formulas and ratios and percentages and temperatures, and she just was a natural baker from forever. And she said that, I like to bake. I said, well, why don't you just try baking? So she tried, baking, and really, fell in love with it, and started to piece by piece supply some local stores And her customers kept asking her, can we come to a shop? Can we come to a shop? Can we see what you have? And we said, we don't have a storefront. And then eventually, and my family's been a long-time resident of the town, and we had a property that was on Springfield Avenue that was kind of empty, and we said, why don't we try a storefront there? If everybody's asking, let's see how that works out. So it's kind of how we started to transition out of her initial baking into having the store. So from there, we were trying to come up with a name, and I said, sometimes I say you make me crazy, but so I said, bake you crazy, get that whole flavor for it. But she's really, really passionate about it. She does a wonderful job, and her main goal, coming from Turkey, was in her. She comes from Istanbul, and there's just so many local bakeries and so many local pastry shops. And she, in coming here, she's like, you guys don't have any little cafes and little bakeries and stuff. This is something we're just so accustomed to in our culture, very much like the European style. She goes, I would love to do something along that line where I have these really homemade style, mixture of maybe a little bit of American, a little bit of European, a little bit of Turkish. So my wife and I have visited bakeries actually throughout the world, from Austria to Paris, and so she makes French macaroons. So she has a sampling and a smattering of these things that she's kind of, brought into Bake You Crazy. And one of the key things that she wants to focus on is really making stuff without preservatives, homemade style, that stuff that we kind of grew up on, and she's really done, I think, a great job of doing it. She takes, a lot of care and consideration to each and everything that she decides to make. And if she tries something and she's not satisfied with it, then she won't put it out for sale. So she has that old style, kind of concept behind what she does.
Yeah, and both you and your family, you've been in Berkeley Heights a long time. You want to talk a little bit about you guys are your family's responsible for the fireworks in Berkeley Heights? And
yes, we've been around. My family's been in the town probably for 80, 90 years at least, and our family fireworks business has been it's going on 123 years in 2013. So, it's great to just be a part of the local economy and to get to see the people on a different level. I also practice law in the town, so it's an interesting thing to just to be in the retail component and have this business, and hopefully that people that have come in have really enjoyed types of things they've been getting. So we love to be a part of the town. We try, and like even this evening, my wife is out donating some stuff to local music school for one of their fundraisers. So we try and do a lot of that stuff to whatever it may be to help. During the gas crisis after Hurricane Sandy, my wife was walking up and down the street giving away coffee to some of the people that were waiting in the line. So we understand that we're a part of a community, and we try and do our part. So.
And what are you guys doing for the holidays at Bake You Crazy?
Well, we're doing a variety of cookies. The gingerbread men. We're doing little reindeer cookies and snowflakes, and then on top of that, we'll have all the cookie tray assortments, a variety of everything from the Italian cookies to pinoli cookies, and then red velvet cheesecake, every kind of pie imaginable, tarts, cranberry apple tarts. So there's a lot of unique things, and my wife's constantly trying to change the menu up to keep people excited.
And for those of people who are watching out there, can you just mention where you're located and also how people could get more information about Bake You Crazy?
Sure. We're located at 473 Springfield Avenue, which is in the heart of downtown Berkeley Heights, pretty much across from DeMeo's Pizzeria, which I think everybody knows for the many years they've been located there. And we can get more information going to bakeyoucrazy.com.
That's great. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that, I really just appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully we get to see, many of the residents to come in and enjoy some of the products that my wife has lined up for the holidays.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks so much for joining us.
Take care. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at ready.gov.
This has been This Week in Berkeley Heights, brought to you in part by thealternativepress.com. Berkeley Heights is locally owned and operated online daily newspaper. Special thanks to the Berkeley Heights Communications Committee and the Governor Livingston TV crew for their hard work and dedication in making this show happen. And thank you to you, our viewers. For these and other local news stories, visit thealternativepress.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Have a news tip or suggestion? Email editor@thealternativepress.com or call 908-279-0303. Until next time, for thealternativepress.com, I'm Michael Shapiro. Good night, Berkeley Heights.